Hey, it's Victoria and Madison, and we are doing another chat. Today's chat is going to be what Pride means for us. It's Pride Month, big celebrations in Canada. Next weekend is a huge parade, but I think it's more than just the partying. It's more than all of those things. It's what does it represent for us personally? Do you want to jump in or you want me to go first?
You can go
okay, I'll go first. Okay, so for me, Pride really represents, for me before I even came out or anything else, it's the realization that Pride allows me to be proud of who I am and how I was born. Things that are not in my control. I didn't get to choose being 6'2", Serbian, trans, queer, lesbian. I didn't get to choose any of those things. I was given a specific number of things that my DNA decided, and from that point on, that's what it was. So I don't believe my whiteness was an option. I don't believe my queerness was an option. I don't believe my transness was an option. For me, I don't even think my being neurodivergent is one either. I was born this way. I've always exhibited these traits. They are intrinsically part of me. And I think Pride for me, I guess, represents the notion that I can finally be proud of who I am and how I was born. And I think that is maybe the fundamental first for me personally in my journey. The opposite of pride is shame and guilt. And I think the world teaches us a lot about shame and a lot about guilt in a lot of different ways. But shame has no home here. How I was born is not shameful. It is something that I am really proud of, that I went through this and I got this set of things and I've done the best that I could with what I've been given. And acceptance and being proud of that, I think, is such a good and healthy way of looking at oneself. And it really comes back to self-love. That's a journey that I've been on personally. Self-love was a very difficult one for me up until I transitioned, and then even after I transitioned, it took me years to really say, yes, I love you to myself. So I think that was a big one for me.
Yeah, and like we were just talking and I was saying how I'm not even necessarily sure what pride means to me, and after just hearing you talk, and I think it's because through my personal journey, I never necessarily felt the guilt or the shame of my transition into gayness or whatever it is. So I've never had to take some time to think about the other side. Like you said, the other side is that guilt side. Mm-hmm. I've always just lived proud of the parts of me that I can and cannot change. And then I was also just thinking how straight people, you'll see online, they're like hater comments will be like, well, what about straight pride? Well, the reason that straight people don't get pride is because there's no shame also and guilt attached to
That's right.
being straight. That is what is perceived as normal.
That's right.
So pride is used to give a space and a community and an opportunity for people who have felt like marginalized or less than to be proud of what they actually are instead of feel shame about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. I love that, actually. So more than that, I think now I see pride in a way of like, I look up to people who have gone through it, you know, like there's so many examples these days of successful people who are part of the LGBTQIA plus community, you know, like there's so many examples of people who excel in their line, whatever their specialties are.
Recently, more and more have come out.
And more and
especially
more.
The past couple days.
Successful people is so motivating to be like, wow, like I'm looking up to this person for being this one, but also it makes me want to rise up. And it also makes me want to rise up for myself and for you and for all those close to us. But also, I want to help the next generation of people to be proud of who they are.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we live in a world where that isn't the norm. People aren't taught that, you know, to give and to look up to somebody and be happy for someone else's success and all that stuff. But anyways, I digress. It is such a powerful feeling to, you know, for me to go from where I was, where pre-transition, I stayed the hell away from the Pride Parade because first of all, I thought I was going to be like seen like this, but aside from that, and now I feel so welcome there, and it feels like this like home of like people who have gone through that coming out process. And I mean, for anyone who hasn't gone through an experience like that, who hasn't come out, not even necessarily in being just queer, but there's, you know, coming out in a lot of different ways, right? Coming out as autistic or something along those lines. But, you know, to be in a place where people are so proud of who they are, it's just been it feels like a home now. All those people who have come out, they had to go through it. And, you know, it's such a bonding experience for people who are queer, because, you know, when you come out, it is at once the most freeing experience of your life, you know, because you feel like you've been locked away and you're told what you are by society. But the day that you come out, of course, there's fear and anxiety and all of these things, but all of those things are about how other people will react. They are about how the world will react to you. It will be about how your kids or your boss or your wife or your husband or your friends will react to you coming out. So all of those fears and anxieties are about other people, other things. The actual internal experience of coming out is the most amazing thing ever. Like, just the realization of like, oh, I know who I am. That for me is what I am proud of, because I went through that experience. I came out. Even though the experience, the fear and the anxiety was good for you, there's still this process of like self-acceptance. And I think that is what, for me, it is to be proud. And I think that's what pride is.
I think one last point before we finish up is, although we live in Canada where, you know, for the most part we're safe and we can live our truth, there are other places in the world where people don't have that opportunity. So pride can also represent, you know, the continued fight for the people who don't have, you know, equal rights, or the people that don't have the opportunity to live their true selves. And we are, you know, standing up for them too, and showing that the fight just doesn't continue just because we have it, you know, made here. We have to keep fighting.
100%. I think that is such an important point to kind of say that pride is not over.
Yeah.
The concept that pride is over, you know, the day that pride is over is when we all have equality.
Then we won't need pride.
We won't need pride when everyone has equality, and not just queer people, like any minority group. The world does not want equality, but I think what pride represents for me, as well as for you, it looks like, is how much pride means equality for us, but it also means equality for all of us. And that's why the continued fight happens.
Yeah.
So that's Pride, and it is June 18th here in Toronto, Guelph, and in about a week and a half we have our Pride Parade in Toronto, and the parties and the fun. And I think one of the reasons it makes it so fun is because we are going to a place where our entire community will be. And so it's like just this positive, uplifting, amazing experience, and we are so stoked. We're gonna party up.